All right, guys, first off, as always, good day. Glad you're here. So, on this video, we are continuing the wages section. All right, so here is your warm-up question. Right, there it is right there. The first question is always, what do you see? Okay, so look at the foreground, background, look at it from left to right. Um, in particularly, look at not just the obvious, but look below the obvious, and you'll see something in common amongst the people on the bottom. Okay, so second question to ask you, what do you think this artist is trying to say? Okay, so uh, get down the information, pause the video if you still writing. Okay, because we're going to start the notes in 3, 2, 1. All right, so we're going to be talking about two particular time in the U.S. history where unions were looked upon, and then when the unions were attacked. Okay, so first off, we got the Great Depression. Now, this is still to this day the greatest period of economic decline and stagnation in the U.S. history. That means that we went from here down to here, and we stayed there all the way to a certain time. Okay, so the stock market crashed, went on decline in October 1929, and it didn't stop going down. It literally did not hit rock bottom until 1933. Now, from 1933, it basically stayed at that bottom level. All right, yeah, it went up a little bit, but then it would go right back down. Or if it went up a little bit, it stayed there. It didn't progress and go up. Okay, the market truly did not recover. You know, didn't get back to how it was before October 1929 until the year 1939. So about 10 years of the economy and stock market just being like crap. Um, Now, during this time, 1 in 4 people were without a job. Now, when I mean that, it's not that, oh, it's like, oh, I can't find a job, tough luck. No, it's legitimately like there's no jobs anywhere around the country. They're all filled up. That's it. Um, 1 in 4 people could not get a job doing anything. So some families, they basically kind of like were starving. They need assistance. They tried to try to get any type of help from anyone. Okay, um, and the thing is, those who had a job, they got a pay cut. It's not that they kept the job and got paid up here, not even down here. I mean, it's low. Okay, um, to put into to perspective, in early 1929, a factory worker, in factories it was a dangerous place. So, people got hands cut off and things like that. Things exploded. So people's lives were lost. So because of that, the pay went up a little, and so it was about 55 cents an hour in 1929, early 1929. By 1933, when it was rock bottom, they only got paid 5 cents an hour. So imagine in 1929, you got worked 1 hour, you got 55 cents. And here in 1933, you work 11 hours and you get 55 cents. All right, so that should put it into perspective. Also, this is one of my favorite pictures from the Great Depression era. And yes, those are guys working on a skyscraper. There's no net below them. As you can see, they're not tied to anything. They're just sitting there. And the thing is, up that high, wind gust is strong. So if they fell, they fell. Okay. So yeah, they're just having lunch on a beam on a skyscraper. Now, the thing is, there was new laws that were made during this time to help unions that try to help the workers. Okay. Now, one of the biggest acts to come about was the Norris LaGuardia Act of 1932. It basically prevented the federal courts from issuing rulings against unions that were the unions were doing peaceful strikes, picketing, or boycotting. Okay, because remember, if you watch the last video, um, anytime the companies didn't want to really negotiate with the unions, they tell them, well, let's go to court then. And the unions didn't want to do that because the courts would say, oh, let's go with the companies. So with this, the courts now could not just say, okay, I will take the case. No, they had to be like, okay, well, um, did you guys negotiate? No, we didn't. We'll go back and negotiate. And if they did say, oh, we negotiated, well, how many times? Twice. We went back and forth. That's it. Go back. Do some real negotiations. Okay. So that's what that did. Okay. Also, there was other regulations and legislations and agencies that were created to help unions. One of them was the National Labor Relations Act of 1935, the National Labor Relations Board, the NLRB, and the Labor Standards Act of 1938. Oh, and that picture right there, that is of the New York Mayor, LaGuardia, Philadon LaGuardia. Now, this guy before Giuliani, he was the man in New York. They even named the airport after him, LaGuardia Airport. All right, so for your midpoint question, here's my thing to you. How do you think your town, your city would be if money was basically worthless? Now, I mean worthless. It's like if you saw $100 bill on the ground and it's like looking at, a McDonald's wrapper just on the floor. You wouldn't pick it up. Same thing, $100 bill on the ground, it's worthless. It's like you can't get anything for $100 bill. So what do you do? You know, how would the city be if that was the case, where even money's on the floor and people are not just picking it up because again, it's worthless. It's like pieces of like post-it papers, things like that just on the floor. You don't pick up paper right now, so why would you pick up it then? Because again, it's worthless now. So how would your city be if money was worthless? Okay, so take the time, think about it, really think about it, and write that down. Okay, and we're going to start the notes. So if you're writing, put pause. We're going to start the notes in 3, 2, 1. Okay, so here we go. Now we get into the next part, which is public opinion had changed after World War II. Okay, the thing is, a lot of Americans were fearing the Russians, the communists, and they felt that the Russians controlled the unions. And if the unions tell the workers what to do, then those citizens will become basically communists. Um, Now, others were upset that a loss of production happened due to strikes. Okay, now here's a fun, interesting fact. Um, in the year 1946 alone, excuse me, there were 116 million workdays that were lost due to work stoppages, so strikes and things like that. And I'm sure you're thinking, well, there's 365 days a year. How can that one year have 116 million workdays? That's total of all the people in the country. So basically, that if you broke it down, that would mean there's 180,000 people who went on like strike for a whole year. But we know that was more likely not the case. So chances are people who were like protesting, or striking for maybe let's say 3 to 4 months. That number would jump up by four. So that'd be like 7,200 people who are um, striking in this country. That's quite a bit of people. Okay. Um, and also the public opinion started to change. People started to think, you know what? It's not the the people, the workers, and the unions who should be sympathized. It's the companies. The companies are the one giving the people the jobs. Those people should be happy they have a job. They should be happy that they're getting paid this much money. So public opinion changed all of a sudden from the 30s to the 40s and 50s that it's the unions are evil. It's the workers who are the ones who are making things bad. It's the companies who are the victims. They're the ones who are, giving people jobs and taking the hits like this. So then they put these things called the Labor Management Relations Act, which put limits on what unions can do in the disputes. Okay. Also, employers now had the right to sue unions for making union memberships basically a condition to be hired. So, in other words, they sued unions for saying, "Oh, if we hire you, you have to be part of the union." They didn't want to say that. They didn't want that to be a condition, so they basically um, sued the unions. All right, so this is the last slide before the last question. And here it is. The right to work, it's a state law. It's not a federal law, it's a state law, making it illegal to force workers to join a union as a condition for employment. So again, if you go work at like McDonald's, they tell you, oh, you have to join a union or else you're not getting hired. The companies didn't want that. So each state basically said they have that right to work law or they don't. Now, states without the law, basically the new workers may have to join a union before they get hired. Now, states with this law, new workers have the option to join the union or not. It's their right. Okay. Now, this is one of my favorite parts right here, the wage determination. Basically, it's amount of money that's being paid based off the work performed. Okay. These rates are usually differ from one job to another, and even in the same job, they can vary. So, a great example is teachers. Okay, a teacher's pay is affected by several things. Things like subject they taught, the experience, and the education level. Okay, so let's say um, me, the history teacher, I get paid less than the science and math teachers because science and math is up here. They're viewed up here, whereas myself, the history teachers, the PE teachers, we're down here. Okay. The other thing that it matters is the experience. How many years? So a first year teacher is not going to make the same amount of money as a teacher who's been teaching for 20 years. Okay. It's just not going to happen. And the last thing is education level. So if a teacher who barely has their credential, barely has their bachelor's, they're not going to make more money than a teacher who has their multiple credentials. They have their bachelor's and master's, things like that. So amongst those three things, the pay varies. Okay. All right. So based off what you learned, my question to you is, if your job offers you a union, would you join and why? Okay. So think about that, write that out. All right. And then with that, that's the end of this lesson. Okay. Hopefully you learned something new. Be sure that when you turn in this assignment that you put the name on the paper and you turn it into the basket by the door, the black basket. Okay. Do not put it on my desk. Do not hand it to me. Put it in the basket. Okay. So that's it. You guys have a good day. Okay. Take care and be safe.